Hello everyone, this is Amanda. Today I'm going to show you how to make this really pretty winter snowflake gift box. It's kind of like a 25710 box, but just a little bit different. But first I'm going to start with this large snowflake. You'll notice that it's not perfectly silver, it's actually blue, and I'm going to show you how I colored that. I started out by cutting a snowflake out of silver glimmer paper from the Snowflake Flurry die. I've got an embellishments container lid here and some Baja Breeze re-inker. I'm going to drop a couple of drops of re-inker into my lid here. And anything will work, it's just something to contain the ink while you're applying it. Now I've taken one of the aqua painters, the one that has the large brush that I never use, and instead of filling it with water, I filled it with rubbing alcohol. And this will actually help the dye ink dry on something that's not porous like the glimmer paper. So just take and squeeze your aqua painter until a couple drops of alcohol come out, and then mix it together. And simply take a whole bunch on your brush and put it on your snowflake. And you want to be really generous with this because it will lighten up as it dries. And now just clean out your aqua painter like you normally would by brushing it on the paper. And just remember, this one's filled with rubbing alcohol, not water, so you'll want to keep it separate from your other aqua painter. Now I'm just going to set this aside so it can dry. Now I'm going to take my Simply Scored and an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to place it with the 11-inch side against the top of my Simply Scored, and I'm going to score at 2 inches, 5 1/4 inches, 7 1/4 inches, and finally 10 1/2 inches. Then I'm going to turn it, and it doesn't matter which direction, so that the 8.5 inch side is at the top, and I'm going to score at 2 inches. Get this out of the way. Now I'm going to sponge on some color so we get the faded blue up the corners here. So first I'm going to take Baja Breeze ink and a sponge dauber, and I'm going to start sponging in the corner where each of my score lines are and work my way up all the way to the tippity top. And just keep working it and blending it out. Doesn't have to be perfect. And don't forget to do this edge here too. Now I'm going to sponge on some Midnight Muse. Now I'm going to take my En Francais stamp and I'm going to ink it up with Baja Breeze. But I only want to ink it up at an angle across the pad. And then I'm going to take a sponge and just dab it along the edge of where I inked. with both sides. Slide the cardstock back over and then stamp it. Now I'm going to do that again. Okay, now we're ready to stamp and emboss the snowflakes. So I'm going to take my embossing buddy and rub it all over the entire surface of the cardstock. Now I'm going to stamp one of the larger snowflakes and one of the smaller snowflakes from Snowflake Soiree all over the cardstock in Versamark ink. Okay. Now I'm going to pour on some iridescent ice embossing powder. Alright. Now that I'm all sparkly, I'm going to heat emboss all of the images. Hopefully you can see all the sparkle and shine that we've added with those snowflakes. Now we're ready to form the box. So I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to cut the bottom of the tab off like that. And then at each of the score lines on the bottom, I'm going to cut at an angle on either side. Okay, so now your cardstock looks like this. Now just fold on all of the score lines. Now I'm going to add some sticky strip on this long side tab. Then also on the inside at the bottom edge of one of these bottom tabs. Okay. Now we'll remove the liner from the long tab and just adhere that on the inside edge of the box side. Press it down good. Now do you see why we wanted to color that edge? Because you can see it. Now we'll fold in the bottom tabs. Like so. And then stand it up, and you want to just pinch in on the sides and bring the top together. And you can just move down as you pinch it in. Now for the holes, I'm going to use the 1/2 inch circle punch, and I'm just going to insert the punch all the way until it hits the cardstock, and then get it pretty close to center. And do that on both sides. Now I'm going to take a piece of Whisper White organza ribbon thread it through the holes and then tie it into a bow. There we go. And then just take the scissors and trim the end of the bow so it looks pretty. And there's the base portion of the box. Now on to finish the snowflake. I also cut one of the medium-sized snowflakes from the Snow Flurry die out of Whisper White cardstock. And I'm going to take my Versamark pad and just press it directly onto the snowflake. And we're going to cover that with iridescent ice embossing powder. And then we'll just heat the embossing powder with the heat tool. Now we have a super sparkly Whisper White snowflake. So now I'm going to take my Stampin' Pierce mat, my paper piercer, and I'm going to lay down my blue snowflake that we colored earlier, then my white snowflake on top of it, get them lined up, and then just pierce a hole in the center. I'm going to add a silver glimmer brad into the center. We'll spread the prongs on the back. Then I'm going to take a couple of my side pieces of my dimensionals, stick it on either side of the brad, and then we just remove the liner and stick the snowflake down on the center of the box. Now your snowflake box is ready to pack a Christmas gift. Thanks for watching.